Over the weekend, there was an immigration judge that ruled against Mahmoud Khalil, saying that he could be deported based on Trump's administration saying that he is a threat to foreign policy. So here's a video I found from ABC that goes into more detail to explain what's happening. But yep,
it's funny.
Let's watch this.
Yeah, it's funny. You know, when he was arrested, of course, a lot of the discourse from the left was, "Where's the due process? Where's the due process?" And it's like, there it is. There it is. That's due process. He went in front of the judge, and it was determined that he could be deported. I mean, you may not like the result, but that is due process.
To the court battles over the Trump administration's deportations, an immigration judge ruling the Columbia grad student who led pro-Palestinian protests can be deported based solely on the administration's claim that he threatens foreign policy. ABC's Christian Cordero joins us with the details as his defense team says the ruling sets a dangerous precedent. Christian.
That's right, Janae. Good morning to you. So Mahmoud Khalil was arrested outside his home in New York last month. He was taken to a detention center in Louisiana, where he faced an immigration judge.
He's not resisting.
This morning, a stunning ruling against Columbia University activist Mahmoud Khalil. An immigration judge in Louisiana ruling Khalil can be deported without any evidence on top of the administration's claim that he threatens foreign policy. Khalil is a permanent legal resident, and his wife, 8 months pregnant, is an American citizen. While at Columbia, he helped lead protests against the war in Gaza.
Just, I got to stop right there. You can tell the framing, eh? Like, it's just but he was deported without evidence. I mean, there was,
but
evidence.
It's the left.
Yeah,
but it's the left.
Yeah,
it's the left.
In a memo, the administration cites a section of immigration law that says a migrant is deportable if their presence in the country has potentially serious adverse foreign policy consequences. The judge essentially saying that's good enough. After the hearing, Khalil addressed the court about due process rights and fairness, adding, quote, "Neither of these principles were present today."
This guy's never been convicted of a crime, never been charged with a crime.
Very him over there.
Person.
His legal team blasting the ruling.
Today's hearing and the finding by the judge sets a really dangerous precedent. If this is allowed to stand, anyone could be next.
They now have until April 23rd to seek relief from deportation. Another high-profile immigration case had key hearings this week. Kilmar Abrego Garcia was deported by mistake to an El Salvadorian prison. On Thursday, the Supreme Court upheld a lower court ruling requiring the Trump administration to return Abrego Garcia to the U.S. That prompted the lower court judge to set a hearing yesterday, which she kicked off by asking where Abrego Garcia is and under whose authority. Attorneys for the DOJ said they don't know. Now
we'll talk about that afterwards, but I thought I'd let it go because they talk about the two main subjects we wanted to talk about today. But yeah, so a judge has found that just the assumption that Mahmoud Khalil was a threat to foreign policy is enough for the Trump administration to deport him.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, you may not like the results, but that is due process. And unlike one of the other cases that we talked about here, I forget the name, but that woman, which is not nearly, it's not clear cut that I see, like that didn't seem very clear cut. This one seems pretty clear cut to me, just based on the actions of the group that he was a head negotiator of. His activism. Again, it isn't really about, as Jason says here, he said still no charges. Correct. I mean, and there aren't, it's not about criminality. You can, the United States government can, for many reasons, revoke the green card status of people that are in the country as guests for reasons that are not criminal. Like there's no, it's a bit of a red herring because there's no requirement for it to be criminal in order to do so.
And I think that's, again, it's worth mentioning that he's not a citizen. It's worth mentioning that he was here on the green card. So he is a guest. And that was the argument that we've made, you and I, from the get-go.
Yep.
He's not covered by free speech. He is not, because he's not a citizen. So we just need to make sure, because all of those reporters and journalists, when they talk about it, especially on the left, they don't talk about the fact that he's not covered by free speech.
Well, yeah, and that's the crux of the entire case.
Yeah, 100%. So, but that's the thing, right? Because I agree with what's happening with Khalil, because I will assume that he was a smart guy. If he actually went to Columbia University, that he was accepted there as an immigrant, he's not an idiot. That guy is probably a very smart guy.
Mhm.
And you're never going to be able to convince me that he didn't know what he was doing, that he didn't realize that there could be consequences to his actions because he was on a green on a green card. If he didn't realize that, well, he's not as smart as I think he is, and I don't think you can't claim ignorance on that one either. You should have known better.
No, exactly.
You should have known better, and it always goes back to what we said from the beginning. Remove how you feel about the deportation. Is this really the type of guy that you want as a green card holder or an immigrant in your country? And I think it was Marco Rubio that said that if he would have been honest from the get-go and say that he was coming here, that he would protest while he was here, they probably wouldn't have accepted him in the first place. So it'll be interesting to see, because he's not getting deported yet. He's still, like, I think
he'll probably appeal to, as
no,
Jason
but
says
the judge
here.
gave him the judge gave him enough time to defend, and clearly he has a bunch of lawyers. I think he has until the end of the month, if I remember correctly.
So I mean, this is due process
I agree.
in action, right?
Yeah,
and
I agree.
Jason agrees here. He says the ruling is not a dangerous precedent. The ruling had to be made for it to go to SCOTUS, and I think this is where we all see it going, probably to
I hope it does.
I hope it does too.
It does. I want this to have the media coverage it deserves. I want this to go to federal court if it has to. Like, I want this to be set as an example so that we understand what can a visitor
clarify
and
it, right?
can do. Make it clear to people that they don't have free speech, that there's certain limitation to what they can do because they're visitors. So sucks for him, but at the same time, you painted a target on your back, bro.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I would probably disagree a little bit. Say he doesn't have the First Amendment protections. He does. Like, First Amendment protections just make sure that you can't be charged with a crime for your speech. It doesn't, like, and he has that protection. He's not being charged with any crime, but it does not mean that guests in the country cannot have their green cards revoked for their speech if it deems to be detrimental to the interests of the United States, and that's a entirely should be non-controversial thing. So Jason here says Israel is the only country where we drop everything we are doing to simp for. You can oppose the UK or France as being murderers, and this would not happen. I mean, it's a bit of a straw man, though, because this isn't about Israel. Nobody. We've said repeatedly, at least as far as we're concerned, it's not the cause that he supports here. It's not that he's pro-Palestinian. It's the actions that he's doing, the destruction of property, the harassment of Jewish students, being a leader in an organization that on their manifesto, they call for the eradication of Western civilization. None of those things have anything to do with Israel. And if there was a pro-Israel person who was doing the exact same things, I would say the same thing.
Calling them out.
Get the fuck out.
Yeah, agreed.
So it's it really isn't about Israel. Tony G says, sounds like he should have been charged with multiple crimes before they finally caught up to him. I mean, that's it.
But technically he's not wrong, because he was the lead negotiator, and even the left is calling him that now. At least they're being honest about that part, where he was considered the main negotiator during the protests. And during those same protests, they broke into Hamilton Hall, they occupied it, and he got no consequences for it. Yet the same people are calling out Trump for his role that he supposedly played in January 6th, how he should have been held responsible. Like, if his speech where he told people not to do something wasn't convincing enough, imagine a guy that was the lead negotiator that led to invading Hamilton Hall. And I'm not saying that it's directly his fault, but by association, if you're one of the main negotiator, you're the face of a movement, and your movement does something wrong, be honest. If you're ready to hold Trump reliable for something, and he did the same thing, except they Like, come on, like
And to be fair, I believe Jason agrees with you on that point. I think Jason would say that
he'll remind us if he does or doesn't. He's not
I believe
shy about it.
Yeah, it's like that vegan joke, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah. How can you tell? Oh, don't worry, they'll tell you. Jason here, and actually after this, I'm going to play my clip because I'm glad Jason's watching because I'm actually. It brings up an interesting question that I'd be curious to see what Jason's take on is. But he says, this is not the United States of Israel. This is the United States of America. Free speech is not only for citizens. And by the way, he led no group, commit no violence. I mean, okay, we can certainly debate on what leader of a group means. I would say if you are trusted enough to be given the lead negotiator status, you're a leader of that group. But I mean, sure. That's debatable. But again, it's not about so as you say, free speech is everyone is protected and he is also protected by it. He's not being charged with a crime. This has nothing to do with criminality. The First Amendment defends the right to speech and you will not be criminalized by the government. However, again, there's lots of things you can do that are not criminal, but that if you're a guest in the country, the America might say, we don't want you here anymore. So I'm going to play this clip here. It's only a minute or so. It's Piers Morgan on Bill Maher, and I'm interested, Jason, especially what you think of it.
I'm okay with that. All right. What if I was a young student at Columbia? They're on a green card, British, come in, happy to be here, do all my paperwork, get to Columbia, and I start leading a group which is a bunch of white supremacists, and we start terrorizing black students in the way that they were terrorizing Jewish students. Well, hang on. In that circumstance, would we all be as comfortable with this, or is it the reality which was exposed by the mobs at Columbia, which is that for some reason, Jews get treated differently to anybody else when it comes to this kind of thing? Because if that had been, honestly, white supremacists treating black students like that, they would be out the country in 10 minutes. In 10 minutes.
That is completely true.
What about if he had said all this at his green card interview? Would he have got a green card? No.
Exactly what I was saying.
Yeah.
A prescribed terror group in the United States, you're not coming in on a green card. All Marco Rubio is doing, it seems to me, is taking it back to that scenario and saying, well, if you'd been honest then, and by the way, he was dishonest on his green card application about other stuff, which is another part of the equation, which might in itself disqualify him from staying in the country. But the idea that he would have said, I support Hamas, I support a global intifada, I support the destruction of Western civilization, now give me a green card to come and live in America, fuck off.
All right.
Yeah, I mean,
how many times have I said that as you look the Free Palestine protests, and as a white guy, if I start organizing all of my Christian friends and we start doing what they do, would they let us do the same thing? Of course they would. We all know that they wouldn't. And I'm not Jewish, so it just is that it's just a fact that they are treated differently. And I think Piers Morgan is absolutely right. If a bunch of white guys would have showed up here as students from the UK and it'd be
the left saying, get the fuck out now.
Yep. And I agree with him. That's a great example. I agree
and to be clear, in that scenario, he should be kicked out equally. Like if I were got a green card to go down to school in the States and I start organizing KKK rallies or white supremacy rallies and harass black students, they should kick me the fuck out. And of course, the left wouldn't have any issues with that at all, even though, again, as we've said, really the topic of the politics is not really relevant. What's relevant is the behaviors, the things that he's advocating for. And again, he's not being charged with a crime. It's just saying, okay, we probably don't want this guy in our country anymore. If he was honest on his application, as Morgan says there, he wouldn't have been allowed in the first place. So, I mean, he got 2 years that he shouldn't have had, really. So he should be lucky for that. He'll be able to go to Europe and get into any top university he wants, and he'll be a hero over there. He'll be all right.
You're probably right.
Absolutely, he will. He's a celebrity on the left now, right? And so yeah, he'll land on his feet. But at the end of the day, if he was really worried about this, they trot out the pregnant wife meme a lot. But if I have a pregnant wife, I'm probably not going to go and be involved in political movements that
I'm the perfect example. We were in the US until 2 weeks ago. My wife is pregnant. So technically, was I out there? Remember what happened at the McDonald's? As much as I disagreed with the guy kicking me out because he didn't like what the fuck I was talking about, at the end of the day, I'm a visitor. What did I do? I picked up my stuff and I left. Like, this is the perfect example. I could have protested. I could have done something. I could have rebelled against the McDonald's of the world. No, I just took my business down the road. It is what it is, bro. Like,
that's right.
I was a visitor, man.
Yeah,
and my wife expressed
that's what most people do. Yeah, right. You could
perfect example, right?
Yeah. Sylvie says, to be fair, Morgan is a huge Israel supporter, and that's actually a great point. And I was meaning to bring that up because it should be said, just to get all the biases out there. He is a huge Israel supporter. That said, none of that takes away anything from his point. Like
I'm not an Israel supporter, nor am I denying them. I'd love to go visit that country because my savior is from there. But at the same time, I just believe in common sense. I just believe that you should treat people equally. If it's not okay for me as a white guy to do that to black people, why would it be okay for them to do it to Jewish people? And if the Jewish people would be doing it to Muslim people, I wouldn't agree with it either. And I'm not debating what's going on across the world, what's going on in other countries. I really don't give a fuck. I've established that in the past, but I'll repeat myself again. What matters to me is what's going on here. I can't control what goes on overseas, but here in North America, treat people the same. I don't care your color. I don't care your religion. I just don't care where you're from. At the end of the day, treat me with respect. You'll be treated with respect too. But I don't want biases based on your religion, or where you come from. Bullshit.
That's a great point.
Yeah,
that's a great point. I feel like, obviously, like, we always appreciate the debate here with Jason, and I'll get a couple of these questions before we move on there. But I feel like
appreciate it so much that we have him on the show.
Yes, exactly. I feel like, Jason, brother, I think you are trying to take it to somewhere it doesn't really, like. I'm sure there are some people who are making it about Israel and Palestine, but for me, it isn't that. It's just, what are you doing? So he says, you honestly believe this is not about protecting Israel? And Western civilization does not mean USA. And by own admission, he was a negotiator, not the instigator. No, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily about protecting Israel. If anything, it's just, it's undeniable that the pro-Palestinian activist movement is becoming more and more destructive and divisive and to me and to a lot of people, I think.
Wait till I show you the videos I want to show you today. Like, I'll just fucking show them after this, because they're not long. I'll just show them, and I'll make my point. This is what's happening in Canada right now. And I'm sorry to cut you off, but he always brings up Israel in this. I don't give a fuck about Israel. I really don't care. It's all about common sense. Treat people the same. You might think it's Israel, and maybe you're right. You know what? Maybe they are protecting Israel. I don't care. I'm not behind the scene. I don't have that power. I'm talking as a commentator right now. Treat everybody the same. If it's not okay for me as a white guy to have the same behavior, because go back to the videos, you will see that they blocked entry to Jewish people. They were harassing Jewish people. This is clear as day. This is not
who paid a shit ton of money to go to university.
So basically, imagine a bunch of white people that would have done that to black people, to black students. We would have prevented them from entering the university where they were students. It wouldn't have been okay. So why is it okay for them? Plain and simple.